You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump. And you might think, what if I fall? Well, what if you don't?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, it's David from LTD Media. I'm here with episode 4 of the Now You Know podcast. Got another great guest here today. His name's Clint Peak. Good friend of mine. Been in business with him for a couple years. I'm going to let him cover the rest of everything else. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, sir.
Well, thanks for having me, David. As I said in the radio a minute ago, I thought there would be cake, but we do have Perrier and coffee, so
Perrier
all is well.
Love Perrier.
Thanks, David, for having me. Ask away. He's got a list, if you can't see it on audio, of about 800 questions.
Yeah, if I was to tell you that I memorized everything, I would be lying to your face.
Yeah.
So don't think
and
that
I think it starts with my social security number and bank account number there.
Well, I got to get the good stuff. I can't do anything with the other stuff. I need that, right? Okay.
And I can't wait to get to the dad jokes, by the way.
Oh, you heard about the dad jokes?
The dad
huh?
jokes I heard. So I want to get in on that. I've been rehearsing that for you.
Have you?
Yeah.
You got some of your own
I
material
got
already?
one. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how long have you been in the business world? You've been an entrepreneur for a while. How long
I
have
was
you been
born an entrepreneur.
You were born an entrepreneur.
I was born to an entrepreneurial family, and from early on, I remember just always dabbling in creating a business, making a business. You and I are involved in probably my 250th business.
Holy cow.
And a couple of them have actually been successful, so my percentage of successful businesses is probably about 1%, but so you get a good idea where I'm coming from. But
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Southern Illinois, Mount Vernon, Illinois, which is right in the middle between St. Louis, Missouri, and Evansville, Indiana. Great place to grow up. Great place to grow up. I actually grew up in a little town called Opdyke.
How do you spell that?
Opdyke, Opdyke. And it population 200, literally.
That's the corner of where we're at right now.
It was a great place to grow up. My brother, I've got a brother and two sisters, but my brother and I we're a year apart. He's a year younger than I am, and my parents built us our own baseball diamond in the backyard. We had our own diamond in the backyard. I was thinking about that last night, as a matter of fact, how cool that was to, the 8 kids that lived in Opdyke was always in our backyard. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then just like the Midwest feel, I lived in Missouri for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the spring and the summer, everything's just green. Hear the breeze going through the trees.
But I've heard, now I've been in Arizona for 30 years now, almost half my life. Actually, 33 years. So I've actually been in Arizona more than half my life now. But I keep hearing it said a Midwestern work ethic.
Okay.
And I kind of think I know what that means. And if you're from there, you know what that is. If you're not from there, it would be hard to explain. We work hard.
You got a different gear?
Yeah, we got a different gear.
Yeah.
Than a lot of people do. I'm not saying everybody does, but yeah. But in answer to your question, my mom is still at almost 85, is still always looking for the next thing that she can invest in or be a part of. As a young kid, we were always working either in my parents' businesses or creating businesses of our own. Right now, how many do we have? You'd have to check me. Right now, how many businesses do we operate? You and me and my wife and the team. How many is there? 4, 5, 6, 7 of them?
Yeah.
And always a new one on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's always something exciting to get involved with, and new technology brings in new opportunities, and it's cool. It's cool being a part of all of them.
It really is. Because you constantly have to be growing, and if you're growing, you almost need to name it. It's almost like another child. I have 2 children, but I actually have a lot more than that, both physically in children and in businesses, because they are your baby, for sure.
Yeah. What was your first legit job or business that you were involved with?
Well, mowing grass, and back in the day, mowing grass, working in people's yards. My parents owned a small country grocery store in Opdyke. I got to tell you real quick about Opdyke. They were taking pictures of all the little communities around. In the Midwest, there's a little town every 3 miles, and so they were taking pictures of Bonnie and Ina and Waltonville, and they said they would have taken a picture of Opdyke, but a truck was parked in the way. So you kind of get the mentality of how small this area really was. But They owned a small country grocery store. I can still see it now. Big, glass cases. People, the guy that they bought it from, his name was Hottinson, Mr. Hottinson. Him and his wife had owned it for years and years and years. Potbelly stove in the middle of the room, and when you walked in, you told him what you wanted. I want, a pound of this, and so it still wasn't self-serve as it is now.
Yeah.
My dad was always working. I'm also a preacher's kid, so he was doing ministry at the same time, but he always had a job as well. And my mom would run that grocery store. And we were about 10, 11 years old and running the register. And, of course, it's a rural area, so,
Yeah.
And I got to further that up to like say what our first real job was at about, this is crazy, and yet it was, I don't look at any, I don't see any danger involved in it any more than any other danger. At about 14, my parents, I remember helping them put together a meat locker. It was a meat locker, a refrigerated meat locker. And we bought sides of beef from a company out of Tennessee called Real Foot Meat, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was the name of the company. This is about 1973, 74, somewhere in there. And they hired a butcher from Mount Vernon. That was the big town in the county. They hired a butcher to come out. And I remember he was missing his ring finger. I just remember, and I would tease my dad about that later. Hey, couldn't you got a guy with all his hands? And he'd say, let me see your hands. And, of course, I still have all my digits. And he goes, well, I guess you didn't make the same mistake that guy did. But at 14 years old, my brother and I were butchering meat. It was a side of beef out of the cooler and throw it up on a stainless steel table and bandsaws and electric saws. And
That's cool.
And I could cut you out a filet mignon and a porterhouse. And my first real job then, I wasn't old enough or qualified enough to go cut meat, so I went to Sharp Brothers grocery store, and I cleaned their meat shop. So I would cut meat at my parents' place and then drive into town and clean their meat shop.
That's cool.
Yeah, I had bleach stains all over my clothes from, you got to use a lot of bleach in cleaning a meat shop. But, yeah, that was kind of nasty work. And, yeah, it's real life. I didn't live on a farm, but everybody around me was farmers. You were baling hay and planting fields and driving combines and tractors at a fairly early age. So
Nice. What's the biggest venture you're involved in right now?
Well, the coolest, I don't know if it's the biggest, but
we
the
can do coolest.
coolest, I
That's
want
cool.
the coolest, and it is so cool. I'm old school in a lot of stuff, but the thing that we're involved now, and you and I are heavily involved in this with Nareda, and that is the LTD, the digital media thing. It is it's just incredible.
Yeah.
The ability to reach people and to tell your story or to market or whatever it is that you're interested in, sharing with the world. It is just the coolest thing
Yeah.
that I've ever been involved in.
Yeah. And he mentions Nereda. It's Nereda,
Yeah.
right? Nereda. See, we're on episode 4, and I'm still
And I've
still
known
getting
her.
educated on how to say it.
I've been practicing to saying your name for like the last 800 days, and I
felt bad. Sammy was here a couple episodes ago, and his last name was a little challenging for me too. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna go down that road.
Yeah.
And but I promised her that I would try to say it right every episode we do, because in the background here we have somebody doing the audio for us through the LTD Media audio division.
She's incredible.
She's incredible.
She's an incredible young lady.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
nod.
pretty good.
I got the nod of approval. So I
So
said it
what
right.
we can do is save that clip right there, and anytime we use her name, just plug it in. Make sure we get this right.
She's like, nope, you're gonna learn it.
She is so talented. She showed up at exactly the right time in what we were doing, and we threw her in the fire. And I'm not talking out of school, but when she came to us, she was a teenager. She is no longer a teenager, but she was just a perfect fit and so talented.
Yeah.
So talented and wonderful personality to boot. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, she makes us look and sound good
Yes.
as best she can under the circumstances.
Photoshop can only do so much.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the digital marketing stuff. That really came into play, especially in this last year with the pandemic. I know that your side businesses that you have as well. You have a bakery which is called
Copper Creek Cookies and Fresh Catering. Fresh Catering.
Yeah, those two, you offer delicious treats, cinnamon rolls, cookies, logo cookies. Companies often go to you guys for cookies for events, for their employees and
16 years, 2006, we started Copper Creek Cookies, which evolved to Fresh Catering in 8 or 9. I can't remember exactly.
you've been in business 16 years.
The cookie business.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you guys actually jumped into that stuff a lot in this last year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And you saw the many benefits of
It's
it.
huge.
Yeah. It really did increase your influx of business. Everything was going up. And
Well,
it really helped.
it's not bragging. It's fact.
Yeah, it's facts.
We're right now, and anybody that knows our backstory at all knows that we've had a road closure out in front of us. There was a big road construction at the freeway.
How long was that?
That was 2.5 years. We
2.5
just got out of that. About 6 months, we were starting to get back on our feet again, and then the pandemic.
Here comes
hit.
the right hook.
Yeah, boom, 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 boom. And yet, as an entrepreneur, and again, I've been playing this game for 50 years, or give or take, and it just happens on a pretty regular basis. I don't care how sound your business is, or how smooth things are flowing, or how comfortable life is, but it's just every 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, there's something either major happens to you in your life, or to in this case, the globe as a whole, and you just have to be flexible and keep adjusting on a regular basis. We talk about that all the time around here.
Well, you said
be flexible.
You said something to me. I brought it up on one of my past episodes, and you were talking about how being a business owner, you're kind of like a firefighter, and you're just putting out these spot fires that just keep popping up.
That you didn't start.
In most cases,
you start a few.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of more than one, but
so you're kind of covering that when we had talked about in the past, because some of the people we've had here are business owners, and they're seeing, here comes this new evolving scenario, and you got to deal with it, which AKA a fire that you need to put out. So digital media.
It's huge. It's when you and I took the reins, for the lack of a better way of saying it, on Copper Creek, in Fresh Catering. We had a presence online, and it was a fairly decent presence online. And now you were just showing me some numbers earlier this week, and I won't get into the specifics of it because they're just metrics to begin with. But our numbers now compared to businesses and I'm referring to Google now, a Google thing that we do, was 3 times the average results that other companies are having, similar companies. And I believe that's consistency. I believe that's quality of content, a combination of both, and just kind of relentless on both your and my part. Of keeping the information out there and fresh, keep it as fresh as possible.
And that's why other businesses are contacting us.
Right.
Is because of that stuff that's out. They see it.
David's not saying it, but he has really built an incredible, with Nareda. And I didn't get that right, but I'm doing the very best I can. And again, that's, I've been practicing this for 800 days.
You acknowledge it right away. I didn't get that one.
Hey, I've been known to call like my own children by the wrong name totally. So if I'm like in the neighborhood, and I know who I'm talking about, and I'm not slipping as an old man because I've always had that problem.
Okay. My mom did that all the time, like especially if so I have a brother, and if we messed up, she'd be like,
Well, I thought my name was Clemmy. My name is Clint. My brother's name is Tim. So as a kid, he was Timmy, and we were Clemmy. And you knew both of us was in trouble, and Dad was coming. Bless his heart. We gave him a lot of reason to come at us a few times. I'll tell you, great guy.
Hey, with you being an entrepreneur for so long, are there any particular failures that you would want?
Let me let you finish.
Are there any particular failures and triumphs that have impacted you that maybe you'd want to share?
Oh, boy. The failures are so numerous, I couldn't, one doesn't jump out at me, I'm sure, given a few minutes to think about it. But failure, as a younger guy, I kind of, and I would say I hate failing more than I enjoy winning, but that's actually, I've thought about it over the years, and that's actually not true. Maybe at that time it was true for me, but it's no longer true. I don't enjoy failing, but I'm a big baseball guy, and I just posted something the other day. The difference really, and I'm paraphrasing it, the difference between success or failure in baseball is the successful ones are the ones that fail the least amount of times. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a hitter and you're 1 out of 3, and you do that for a career, you're a Hall of Famer. Well, 1 out of 3 won't get you very far in in a lot of jobs. I mean, if you fail 2 out of 3 times in most situations, you're looking for a new job. So
That's very true.
I don't enjoy it, but I always go in knowing that there are going to be failures and setbacks, and try to minimize them as best you can. Successes, I had the good fortune several years ago, and this is the one that kind of comes to mind. In 2008, I had the opportunity, and today, this won't be played until March, but today, and I'm going to have to reach out to him. Today is Jerry Reinsdorf. Today is his 85th birthday, and Jerry Reinsdorf, for anyone that's not familiar, is the owner of the Chicago White Sox Major League Baseball team, and he's also the owner of the Chicago Bulls NBA franchise. Great guy. I had the opportunity to work for him in 2008 with the White Sox as a consultant with my dear friend Rick Peralt.
Yeah.
And just being in that environment with just Major League. I mean, it is Major League, literally, and to be in that environment and to work with those people, I probably learned more in a year, business and entrepreneurial, and how to approach life. And for anybody that's interested, the Jerry Reinsdorf backstory is that ought to make a movie.
Look
out
into
of
it for sure.
Because he grew from nothing to one of the wealthiest people on the planet. And despite a lot of reputation as being kind of a cheapskate, he was never cheap with me and very loyal to, I mean, he still has people on the payroll that, the spouse has died years ago, and he's got the widow on the payroll and stuff like that. So I would say that would be one of my highlights for sure. But failures, I mean, they're everyday occurrence. So.
You learn from them.
I try to. I make the best attempt at getting the research, getting the material and the information and digesting it.
Yeah.
Life's kind of like a football game. Those that are around me see it a lot. I carry it in my phone now. But if you ever seen a football coach on the sideline pacing up and down with his chart in his hand, what to do in this play, what to do in that play, and that's kind of how we run our lives around here. Is kind of we're working on a strategy right now because our food business has just back to that a minute, but it's just exploded because of pandemic, and we were already individually wrapped. We were a ghost kitchen or a virtual kitchen long before anybody had I'd ever heard the term.
Okay.
In 2009 or 10, I coined "From Our Kitchen to Your Table," which is the tagline for Fresh Catering. Yeah. Which is now a perfect fit here in 2000.
Individually packaged meals. Yeah. Easy to prep.
Good stuff, too. I mean, from tri-tip steak to salmon to ravioli spaghetti. And we do a lot for a lot of companies, large companies around here that no longer, buffets are out for the moment anyway. We do the Marana Chamber of Commerce. Everybody has an individual meal from breakfast to dinner. And same with our cookies. They're all individually wrapped and packaged. Our cinnamon rolls, individually wrapped and packaged.
Famous cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they're so good. Thinking
they're
about
good.
one now.
They're like kryptonite over there. I got to be honest. In the last 13 years, I've eaten a few, but in reality, I haven't eaten many lately. I have to taste them to test them every now and then. I'll pull the center right out of there. And I hate to say it, but the rest of them usually in the trash. But yeah, they're good stuff. Stay away from. On a regular basis, so probably a good idea.
Too much goodness can be bad for you.
Well, I'm going to quote my dear friend, Pastor Chris Collins over at the Oral Valley Church of the Nazarene, and he says this all the time: 365 days of sunshine in a row is a drought. Yep. So
that's a good way of looking at it.
Excuse me. You got to keep it all in perspective, and we all love sunshine, especially here in the desert, but you got to have a little rain too. Yeah. So that's another thing is keeping grounded and keeping focused. And then surround yourself with a bunch of young, talented people. That's my recipe. Live long enough to be old, have a clue of what you're doing, and surround yourself with a bunch of young, talented people and go to work.
So you were talking about Major League Baseball. You were kind of talking about how you were part of it. Yeah. That reminds me, I saw a picture of you somewhere. I don't know if it was on Facebook or in our content creation platform. It was you in like a nice white polo, I think. That's me. And you were wearing some slacks, and you're standing on the field.
That's me at what at the time was Bank One Ballpark. It's now Chase Field. Okay. And that's me. Several years ago, when
What
I
were you
actually had a
doing
little
there?
more hair, I was working. I worked with
Don't
the
get me
I
started
did a
about
lot
the
of
hair.
stuff for professional baseball during that time. In addition to the White Sox, that's actually how I got the gig through Rick Peralt and Top Choice Baseball. Was because I was already in the baseball world with equipment and stuff, and Rick is still in the baseball world in youth tournaments. And but I had some gear that Major League Baseball bought on a regular basis, and I had the opportunity to being a baseball guy from way back. I mean, when I moved to Tucson, I wasn't ready to retire by any means, and I was young enough that I was 50 or somewhere around there. I can't remember, late mid 40s, and I still wanted to. I still felt like I had a lot to do, but I was going to be kind of selective and.
Yeah.
I'd worked hard my whole life up till that point, and I kind of wanted to be picky, and I kept coming back to this baseball thing because I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed. It's just like hair came and went, and styles came and went, and a girlfriend or two came and went, but the only thing that remained the same from a little kid till today is I always enjoyed the game of baseball. Professional baseball, yes, but I'm the guy that stopped by a little league field and watch them play if I don't even know who they are, and. So I got into it when I got here, and I had some really cool stuff that I was involved in professional baseball, all of them. And we were a spring training capital of the world in Phoenix, and at that time Tucson had a couple facilities, but Tucson, Phoenix is the capital. I mean, there's 15 teams that are right now in spring training and in Phoenix, and so I had the opportunity to hang out with a lot of big leaguers and go hang out. And I know just from a personal note, most of the clubhouses do not have enough towels in them. I'll just leave it at that.
From personal experience.
For personal experience, they don't have enough towels to go around. But that was again a great learning experience because it was something I could tell you some really cool stories of with Mickey Hatcher and doing some stuff with the Anaheim Angels, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and meeting Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels. I know his brother real well, Bobby here, but I never met Artie. I met Artie and sun coming up at Tempe Diablo. We're shaking hands through the chain link fence. These are just another one of them stories that you just go, wow, here's a guy that had nothing going for him, and he just stayed at it and worked hard, and he became a huge success and a wonderful human being on top of that. So yeah, I remember that day well. I want to tell a real quick story about that. This happened that day. So that was probably, I'm thinking June or July. The kids were still playing ball for the summer league, and I was there when that picture was taken. And I looked out on the outfield track, and I see this guy running. He's got his shirt off, and I mean, he is built. This guy is built, and I'm like, and I'm taking a closer look. It was future Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman.
Okay.
And he's running poles, Tuesday afternoon, 2:00 in the afternoon, and I mean, it's hot at Chase Field. It's hot. I mean, I remember thinking it is super hot out here today. And he's running. I get home, I tell the kids, hey, they're at a ball game. I tell the kids, hey, I saw Trevor Hoffman today. Of course, most of them probably didn't know who I was talking about, but I knew who I was talking about. Trevor Hoffman is a U of A guy.
Okay.
He played shortstop here for Coach Kendall and Coach Jerry Stitt. And great guys, both rest his soul, Coach Kendall and Jerry Stitt, both great human beings, great human beings, great coaches. But so I see Trevor running, and I come home, I tell the kids, hey, he's running, he's out there working, he's all-star, and he became a Hall of Famer. He came in that night. I remember on the ride home from the ball field, he came in that night and threw one pitch and got the Diamondbacks out, got the save, and the Padres won that. And I said, see, it wasn't that one. I turned to my son in the vehicle at that time, and I said, see, it wasn't that one pitch tonight at 9:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
He was out there busting it at 2:00 this afternoon or whatever time it was. It's 114 degrees.
Yeah, summertime Phoenix heat.
Yeah. That's where he literally threw one pitch. So he was doing all that work in advance for 30 seconds worth of work. Yeah. So I'm a big believer in that. You got to put in, I talk about it all the time, hustle in silence. Let your results speak for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And results matter.
Yeah. Like in football, battles are won off the field.
Yeah.
You're in the gym.
Yep.
You're studying
Yep.
film. right? You're
Yep.
practicing catching the ball.
Hey,
if you're
kicker
receiving.
tape parades
Yep.
are in the gym late at night, on the field
Yep.
late at night, or in the cage late at night when nobody's around. That's when you win championships.
Yeah.
Not when people are watching. That's when you actually achieve it. But the championships are won behind closed doors.
Would you say that that fits into building a business as well?
Absolutely.
All the stuff that happens
Absolutely.
that people don't see, don't
Absolutely.
hear about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that's kind of my game book, is almost my playbook. Like I mentioned earlier, the football coaches with their, what do you do on a 3rd and 6? What do you do on? I mean, you've already kind of mapped out what you're going to do under certain circumstances. That's my girlfriend calling.
You're not gonna answer, no?
No, if it was my mom, I would, and it's live. It's live.
Yeah. So, what advice do you have to listeners who are pursuing being an entrepreneur?
Well, I'm kind of like, there used to be this huge sign between here and Phoenix at the Picacho Curve up there. If you remember what I'm talking about, there was a huge sign up there, a huge billboard sign, and it was Thomas Edison, and he said, "I didn't discover 10,000 ways." They said, "You failed 10,000 times." And he said, I discovered 10,000 ways it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I could tell you more what not to do than what to do. But the greatest speech, and I'm always into quotes and digging, the greatest speech that I ever heard in my life. Let me jump real quick. Abe Lincoln said, if you're given 6 hours to chop down a tree, spend the first 4 sharpening your axe. So I would say have a plan and then get busy and adjust that plan and then get busy and adjust that plan and get busy and adjust that plan. And then Winston Churchill, at a graduating class in Oxford years ago, got up, and this is his entire speech. I'm going to give you the entire speech that Sir Winston Churchill gave to the graduating class. He got up, ambled over to the podium, and said, "Never give up, never give up, never give up." And then he sat down. Really nothing else to say after that. If you really think about it, if you're passionate about what you're doing, now don't be blind, don't be stupid. If it's not working, don't just keep banging your head against that wall. But on the same token, I read something today that kind of is applicable right here. It said, the same hot boiling water that softens a potato hard boils an egg. It's the same water. Matter of fact, you can do them together. And I've seen my mom boil potatoes and eggs for potato salad in the same pot, and it softens the eggs, or it softens the potatoes and boils the eggs. So
2 birds, 1 stone.
yeah, I would say, honestly, it's just you got to be, passion is a great thing, but do what you're good at. What are you good at? What do you enjoy? What can you lean into that you enjoy, and you go, I could do this for a long time. Now, I'm not buying this and I used to believe this, and I don't believe it anymore. If you love something, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's just not true.
I would agree.
That's just not true.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel like work if you love it, but on the same token, if you really love something or some person, or you'll stay up late at night, you'll work extra hard, you'll throw all your money, your time, your commitment into something that you love. If you don't love it, I'm out.
Yeah.
See you later, catch you on the flip, come on.
Yeah.
So I would say, what are you good at? And everybody's good at something. And whatever it is you're good at, there's a need for that. You can market that if you refine it long enough.
Yeah.
There isn't, whatever it is you're good at. I don't care what it's good at, what you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm into baseball. I made a living and still kind of live off the proceeds of some of that I made a decision in 2003, and some of my lifelong friends are because I'm like, what do I want to do? Well, I like baseball. If I could find a way to get into that arena, that'd be cool. And I did. And it was really cool. I've sat in owners' boxes. I've been on the fields. I've been invited to all kinds of places. I still am. When the Diamondbacks were here, I used to go down here and take my kids with me. And I knew most of the players on the first-name basis, and my kids have got unbelievable amount of sports memorabilia and autographed baseballs and pictures of every, the whole 2001 World Series championship team. We've got stuff at my house. That's cool because it was something that I knew that I was going to be passionate about, and I figured it out after the fact.
Yeah. And my little piece to throw in on that is just keep growing. You talk about being good and the need and stuff. But you got to keep growing because, especially in our line of work, technology is changing every single second of every day. So you have to know what's coming. You got to know the trends. You got to know what you can use. You got to know ways to get out there, get people's brands in front of people. So that's a big thing for me, is just keep growing on top of everything else that you said. And I do, I have mentioned that I have a mentor in the business world in some of the past podcasts, and this is the guy. So if you hear,
Hey,
right, for obvious reasons.
And David and I have between us about a 3-decade gap, and when we're together, I guarantee you there isn't one, because David and the rest of the team around here, everybody here is 20 and 30 years old. You know, they bring a fresh new look. I know that's the market. We lean into that. You guys have taught me. If I've taught you half of what you guys have taught me, the good stuff, by the way. If we're halfway, I'd be shocked, because you guys have taught me so much that I would have never known or embraced. And now it's like, honestly, that's all I kind of am into, is the stuff that we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's like so fresh. And I mentioned my father a while ago, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring him back into this conversation. My father passed away years ago. My father had a lot of radio shows and was an incredible musician and did a lot of taping and stuff. And I can't even imagine if he were with us today, if he could see what we're doing, because I literally have cut tape with him.
Wow.
Literally cut the audio tape and do the rewinds and the voiceovers, and it was all dependent on tape and the integrity of the tape, and you couldn't tape over. If he could see what we're doing, and the few times that I kind of, like, as they say, get your dauber down, he almost comes to me and it's like, what are you doing? I mean, you got all these toys. I mean, use them. So it's a really comforting to know this, and having been in that part of the industry from way back till today, it's pretty cool to see where we're at.
I gotta ask Nede the question. Hey, have you used a audio cassette player before in your life?
No, I mean, my grandma would.
But you never had like owned your own that you listened to. See, that's like
her grandma would, is what she said, in case anyone didn't hear that.
I feel old now, because that's so when I started listening to music, that was what we had. Like, you could have a tape, and you could actually record a song that was on the radio onto your tape.
Well, they had double cassette players, so you could. I mean, that was if you were fancy. By then, you could record what you had in one to the other.
Yeah, so I would record my favorite songs, and but the rewinding part, right?
Yeah.
And then you just sit there and wait.
You know how many of those you see, like, in the trash can or out in the street with they're all wrapped around?
I found a huge box of my last house I had when I was moving out. I found this huge box of VHS tapes that was inside of the attic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is cool. But then I was like, wait, what the hell am I going to do with these?
Nothing.
Trying to sell them on
You need
Facebook.
a VHS player to play those. Who has that anymore?
I don't have one. Do you?
Well, Lance, no. I mean,
Do you have one? I don't.
My first
Leather?
thing to listen to music was on an MP3.
yeah, see?
MP3 player.
Yeah.
Wow. See, so you didn't even experience the CD life.
Yeah.
Little bit?
I did a little bit.
See, I go back to even reel to reel.
But like something I owned was the MP3.
Reel to reel,
MP3
or
player.
the big
the
record
MP3
player, the record player that would have 3 channels on it. You got your 45, not channels, but speeds. You got a 45, which you had to use that little clip to put in between that, because the 45s were made with the center open. Then you got 33 and a thirds and 78. 78s were like the real old stuff. The 33 and a third.
Dude, you're talking code to me right now.
Oh yeah, it was.
I don't know.
And you
Maybe
and-
Filiberto would know what you're
and
talking
you
about.
bought
DJ
this,
Low Key.
you bought your favorite album, and you took it home and you scratched it the first day. Well, when I was going to college at SIU, go Salukis, but I lived right next to a railroad track, and I mean right next to I literally like 15 feet from an elevated railroad track, and I was on the second floor of this apartment building, and so we're about right there. I mean, and I'm like, for the first couple of weeks, now again, keep in mind, I'm 19, 20 years old, so I'm not sleeping that much anyway, but I'm like, I'm never sleeping again.
Yeah.
But you learn to get past it. But we hung our turntable, which was our main source of music, our I can see it now, and we hung it in the corner, and we hung it down from the ceiling on chains with big shock absorbers. I'm not a handy guy to have around when it comes to tools and stuff, but I knew a few guys, and so we built this huge, elaborate shock absorber turntable
Wow.
holder, and it just sat there and it just rattled like crazy, and the trains would go by, but it didn't skip. So
Wow. Skipping. So CD life. That was a.
oh yeah,
So I remember when CDs first started, because I was there when the transition happened. I was around, and I'm not like I was there, like I'm telling some war story.
he was there.
Yeah, in history I was there. But I remember getting my first CD compact disc player that you could take with you.
Oh yeah,
And it would skip. If I even like blinked, it would skip. So I remember
the Walkman, basically.
Yeah, the Walkman. And I remember they like started getting better, like these G-Shock ones and all kinds of stuff like that. And
Our Walkman, when I was growing up, was a transistor AM and FM radio. That was our Walkman. You had a little transistor radio. It would have a span. It'd pick up radio stations, for 15, 20 miles, maybe 30 miles. And that was how you'd sneak it in to listen to the World Series during, and hope you had enough battery to get you through the game. But you guys you're skipping totally. One component that was a big part of my high school years, my teenage years, and that's the 8-track.
yeah, I was gonna say the 8-track.
You just jumped right past it like it never existed.
My pop's talking about the 8-track in his car. I remember when I saw one for the first time. They're bulky.
Oh yeah, they're huge. I remember installing the first one. I won't get into name. I remember people. Some of them aren't with us anymore, unfortunately. That's why I'm not going to get into all that. But I remember installing my first 8-track. And again, I'm not a real handy guy to have around when it comes to fixing stuff. But I remember where we were at and installing that. And it cost $40. And $40 back then was, I don't know, the equivalent of a couple $100. So
You're a popular man.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Well, I read this today, and it said something about, so you get this meme, you get this text from you got $400, you get this text from your daughter, and it says, Dad, I need $200. Then a few minutes later, you get a text from your son that says, Dad, I need $150. So at the end of this, how much money do you have left?
Yeah.
$400 and 2 ignored messages. Yeah. Can we tell a dad joke here real quick? I got one. I want to jump on it right now.
Oh, you want to jump into you came for the dad jokes.
I was watching these guys with their dad jokes, and I'm like, for full disclosure, I've been a parent now for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got a little experience with this dad joke stuff or dad stuff. David's got one on the way. Sammy's got his little gal's like getting close to a year old.
Mm-hmm.
So not to demean the new dad program, but I'm an old dad, and so they were talking dad jokes the other day, and I only know one joke that I can think of like right off my head, and I've kind of tweaked it a little bit because I really don't want to offend anybody.
Oh, it's okay.
And it is. The question is
just a joke.
What is a tornado and a redneck divorce have in common?
A tornado and a redneck divorce.
Tornado and a redneck divorce. What do they have in common?
What?
Somebody's going to lose a trailer. There you go. That's all I got.
All you got?
I'm back at.
Well, we got more.
I'm back at 2 to 4 every afternoon over here at Top, but I'm going to tell you the same joke over and over.
So I have this exceptionally bad dad jokes book. It's what I busted out.
Yeah.
The first time was with Sammy.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
"Is anything else gonna happen?"
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
he's all, I'm cracking my knuckles, like wondering if anything else is gonna pop up. But I still can't remember who got me this, and I feel bad. I'll have to ask around this weekend. I think it was a family member.
For you.
But I just realized this is volume 1, so I'm gonna have to get the next one.
What I was getting ready to suggest to you, and I would suggest it to all of you that are starting families, or you're getting ready to have kids, or you're at the age to have kids. I'm serious about this now. I'm very serious. If you would take and either record or write down everything your kid says for the first 10 years of their life, you could become the next Irma Bombeck. I don't know if anybody's old enough to know who I'm talking about. You can date yourself, but she was a columnist. Used to write. She wrote a book. The one that comes to my mind is she wrote, "The grass is always greener over the septic tank." Well, it is. That's a fact.
Yeah, the little leach field or whatever it's called.
So if you want to make $1 million, is write down every fun or goofy thing that your kid says, and you know what? Within a few years, you'll have enough material. You could write volume 2 or 3 or 14 or
Yeah.
By the way, Nareda, this is how most of his and my conversations go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drifting.
All right. So since you told one, I will start off. So I
Okay.
usually do two each,
Okay,
and
okay.
then do two, and then you switch to
Okay,
the next
okay.
person. So, all right, you're right. You're right. I read them, and I'm just
You're like, oh, this is bad.
because I know in my heart that it's making me laugh. That I
Yeah.
should I'm
Yeah.
just like, all right. What do you call someone with no buddy? And no, what do you call someone with no body and no nose? Nobody knows.
See, that is a dad joke.
It is a dad joke.
That's a dad joke right there. And
Here
it's
you
a
go.
fact.
This is one I could see you telling your kids.
Yeah.
Kid, okay? Perfect. Kid. Dad, make me a sandwich. Dad. Poof. You're a sandwich.
Yeah. I've actually done that a time or two. Yeah.
Your turn, sir.
Let me see. I'll just randomly pick it because we all know it's in
Yeah.
the delivery.
You might see one, you're like, it's not really.
What does a baby computer call his father?
What?
Data. Why are elevator jokes so good?
Why?
Because they work on so many levels. I'm seeing a lot of head shaking. Come on,
gosh. Data. That one got me.
Yeah.
That one got
Yeah.
me big time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna deny that. All right. Did you get your fill of the?
I think we're good on that. I'm good anyway. You can sit here and tell them the rest of the day if you choose to. Hey,
We gotta save some of the material
I want to
for
plug our favorite
future
drink
stuff.
around here, Perrier.
Perrier.
I'm a big
Still looking
fan.
for the
I'm not a
sponsorship.
snob about much of anything. I'm not a coffee snob or a food snob or even a cinnamon roll snob. I'm really not, but I love me some Perrier. I really do. I developed a taste for it a long time ago. Now, I drink a lot of coffee, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I've drank mud before with coffee. But the Perrier, I'm kind of like,
that's
I don't know,
bad.
anybody ever has, again, I'm dating myself, but the Andy Griffin Show. Andy was a sheriff and Barney is the deputy. It's hilarious stuff. Your parents would probably be familiar with it. Your parents are definitely familiar with it. But it's one of the funniest shows that was ever on TV.
What show's that?
Andy Griffin Show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and they've got the town drunk Otis, and he checks himself in and out of cells when he wants a long weekend or a weekend away from his wife, and he's been noting
Like
a
the
spike.
jail cells?
Yeah, he checks himself in and out of the jail, and he lets himself in and out, usually at the most inopportune moment, and he'll spike the water cooler with, some shine in case he's going to be there a long weekend. But he was drinking some water out of the water bowl, what do they call it, crap or not crock, the water crock, and he's drinking water, and it was real water. He thought there was alcohol in there, but they'd cleaned it out. And he drinks a big shot of that regular water, and he just he goes, what is this? And then he goes, that's natural spring water, Otis. And he's like, you guys drink this stuff? So, but Perrier, it's just I'm gonna go right out there on a limb and do a free promotion for these guys. Drink more Perrier is what I would say.
I'm on it.
Drink more Perrier.
Sounds good.
It's
to me.
good for you.
It
It's
Mineral water.
naturally carbonated. Now there's a process that goes into it way more than that, but this comes out of the ground carbonated, which is unique in and of itself. So drink more Perrier.
What's a common myth you hear about being an entrepreneur?
Well, everybody's wealthy in the industry. There are successful entrepreneurs and there are unsuccessful entrepreneurs. I think the biggest myth, just off the top of my head, is an entrepreneur and a business person are not necessarily the same. That doesn't mean the same thing.
Can you enlighten us on that?
Yeah, the business is you're specifically running a business. You're selling widgets or you're selling cinnamon rolls or you're selling something. An entrepreneur is more of a Musk or a Gates or somebody that's changing a whole industry or the way we do stuff. That's more of an entrepreneur. A business owner sells pizza or whatever. Now, an entrepreneur can be a business owner for sure. And that's kind of how I look at myself. And I'm an entrepreneur first, but my outlet is running and starting businesses.
Okay.
And I'm looking for 2 or 3% success rate. Now I talk about it a lot around here, is, again, I'm not looking for the same thing in life you're looking for. You guys are younger. And I use that baseball analogy again. I'm not looking for I'm not playing small ball per se. I'm not looking for the bunts and the singles and the hit and runs. I'm wanting to load the bases up and swing for the fences. That's because of age, my age factor. I've got less time to accomplish some of the stuff I want to do. Now that means I'm not throwing back singles, and I'm taking your singles and walks and bunching them together.
Yeah.
But I would say probably the biggest fallacy I think between entrepreneurs is everybody thinks an entrepreneur or business owner is just rolling in it, and that's just not
And overnight.
true. Yeah, yeah.
Especially with social media. Oh, you'll be rich tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like,
make $150,000 a month, and there are people that do it. There are people that do it, but for everybody that's doing that, I'll show you 10,000 that aren't.
oh, absolutely.
You know, so
People don't post about
no
their failures.
No.
Hey,
Well, thank
I
goodness.
completely screwed this up today.
It's
Check
already
this
a
out.
cesspool anyway, and you're going to dump that in the mix. I screwed up again today. The question is, did you screw up today? Is how many times and how severe was it? And that's the main thing: is avoid the catastrophe, avoid the real major faux pas that could, especially in this climate that we live in now, you could be stomped out pretty quick by something you said or did or didn't say or do.
Canceled.
Yeah, I hate to use that term, but yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes justifiably so. If you're evil and vile and you show that, well, then there are going to be repercussions over it. But a lot of times it's just an opinion that you should have kept to yourself anyway. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, opinions.
You want to be judged on your worst day or the worst thing you've ever said? You want to be judged on that?
No.
Any more than you want to be judged on the best thing, because there's somewhere in between is where you really live.
Don't even give anybody an opportunity to do that.
What-
Yeah, how hard is that?
I'm going to quote Lincoln again. Lincoln said, it's better to be thought a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Yes.
And I think about that a lot. Being a talker, believe it or not, I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to quote something else that goes with that. It says, a smart person knows what to say, but a wise person knows when or if to say it. Just because you know something does not mean you need to go all the time blabbing about it.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody's going to step out in front of somebody or get hurt or there's an emergency situation, that's you check that rule. But the rest of the time, I guess as a parent, I see that sometimes. And I don't mean necessarily a parent to my children, but as a business owner, you're kind of a parent to the people, or at least I am. That's the approach I've taken. It's more of a family environment. And I might know that you're getting ready to stub your toe.
Yeah.
But rather than just stop you completely from stubbing your toe, as long as you're not going to hurt yourself, maybe you ought to go ahead and just stub your toe, because that's maybe the only way you're going to know that, hey, I can't do that. This is maybe something I need to back up from.
And usually stubbing your toes because you cut a corner.
Yeah. Trust me, I know. I've done that a few. We all have in the middle of, we got a grimace over here.
Cutting those corners,
The
man.
only bone I've ever broken in my body was a little toe.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're lucky, man.
And I was frustrated with my kids and
I have a
spray
broken-
paint.
Look at it. My finger's still
I
broken.
see
You
that,
see
yeah.
that? It got stuck in a helmet. When I was playing football. I went to go do a stiff arm.
Yeah.
And it got stuck. And the guy pulled away and the thumb stayed. And it finally popped out. But my thumb was my pinky was like this.
all the way sideways. But you should have seen the other guy.
90-degree angle. Oh, I didn't stiff arm him very well. Yeah. I'm not going to make up some story that it went really well. It was a broken
The other
bone.
guy, when they resuscitated him.
Snapped my arm in football. It was all football.
Yeah.
I loved football. But,
I did too. But we're both little guys, and it hurts.
Yes.
It hurts. I'm telling you. I got hit a few times, and I'm like, that hurts.
And to add on to it, I was really fast because I was like little. So now I've got the speed going and my just like little frame just running into big people, and it worked out sometimes, but
that velocity though.
You had to play with finesse when you're like somebody.
That
our
velocity
size.
though, little guy, big guy, high speed, high impact. Somebody like our buddy David.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, I mean, the guy was on a football team in high school that never lost a game.
Yeah.
And
There's
then-
a reason. If you know David, he's a beast.
Never lost a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then goes on to college and plays college ball.
Or my little buddy Nick, who when he was a squirrely little 8-year-old, I'm like, Nick, stop that. And he turned out to be 6'10" and 320 pounds and played linebacker for the San Diego State. And I'm like, I'm glad I was nice to you when you were little.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah. You break any bones?
No.
No, she didn't break. Just sprain, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of sprains.
Yeah. It hurts. It hurts.
Oh, yeah, I'm
It
sure.
is like I think the most cringing part about it is when the bone breaks. Like so I broke my arm, both the bones. You know, you got in your arm, you got the two pieces.
Right.
I broke the two pieces by the wrist right here and then up here. And when it happened, the most cringing part about it is you hear it, and it's like, you ever taken like a dried up chicken bone or something, and you crack it, and it's
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about,
Yeah,
great.
You do that?
Let's go back to the dad jokes.
I just had to explain it because you never, and you
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
but just when you hear that noise, it's over after that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you haven't broken a bone yet, that's kind of what
Let's
it's going
keep
to happen.
that.
If you hear that,
Yeah, that's not something to aspire to. Let's just.
if you do break your bone doing something really cool, I mean,
Yeah.
like if you're like riding
Yeah.
motorcycles
Yeah.
and doing
Yeah.
tricks and
Yeah.
stuff, I mean, that's inevitable.
Yeah.
But just heal and keep going.
And see, I
Don't
grew
stop.
up in that era. I grew up with Evel Knievel and jumping out of barns and jumping over stuff with the motorcycle because we always
Yeah.
had them, you know.
But hey, I broke my arm really bad, right? I was out the rest of the season, and the next season they're like, you might want to just take a little bit off. I say, hell no. And I went back and I played, and I didn't break any bones that next season.
Well,
Just
Hayden,
kept going and going.
our son Hayden broke his elbow jumping on the bed, literally.
Yeah.
Jumping on the bed. Don't jump on the bed. You'll break. Well, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he broke it right in his growth plate, in his elbow. He's like second grade. We were really concerned because of where it was broken in his right arm. He's right-handed. That there could be some really potential, long-term problems. It was just so fortunate at that time. We lived in Phoenix, and the Arizona Cardinals doctor/surgeon was there in the hospital at that moment, and operated on him.
Wow.
Which was huge. So we have a world-class, specialist
Yeah.
in fixing broken bones,
Yeah.
and he had no real repercussions from that. Once he was healed, but he was in a soft cast for like 3 or 4 or 5 days before they could put the hard cast. He still got the wire sticking out of it. He goes to school on the second day, I think that happened on the weekend. He went to school on Tuesday, and I get a call. Hey, Mr. Peak, is Hayden supposed to be playing football? I'm like, no,
Not at all.
Not at all. What are we doing? Get him off of there. So, yeah, I went and got him and picked him up. He was incorrigible at that time. Still is, but got a little more maturity about it now than he did then.
Yeah. This has been fun.
It has, David. It's always fun.
It's great.
We could just do this all the time. You know, my buddy Mike always says to me, "Hey, Clint, let's go back there with David right now." And
Yeah, when's he going to come
fire
by?
up I'm going to put a real quick plug in for my buddy Mike. He's Pools List.
Yes.
You can find it on Instagram and probably various places. It's an Angie's list or Amy's list for.
I think it's Angie's.
Is it Angie?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
know. Who
I
cares?
got a guy for that. One of them lists that
Yeah.
you can find, and it's all pool related
cool.
stuff. So check.
Yeah,
him
let's
out
see if
if
we
you
can get him
that.
in here.
Yeah,
and
he's a good dude.
Let him talk about kind
Known
of
him
what
for
he's doing.
years. Really good guy. And we need to get Anton in here. There's another
Anton,
one.
yeah, Anton's a good.
Another way. Anton and Mike Peterson and I. Anton with Innovative Signs, and Mike Peterson and myself. All of us at that time. Mike's no longer in this plaza, but we had businesses in this plaza, and we started a mastermind group that met every Thursday morning. We called it MAC. That was for Mike, Anton, and Clint.
That's cool.
And it was a safe haven to come in, discuss business, talk about things. All of us were in varieties of different businesses, and yet everybody can benefit by sharing the knowledge that they have about what they're doing with others. And it's something right out of Ben Franklin's playbook from the 1700s. A mastermind. Dale Carnegie, Carnegie Hall, was a big believer in the mastermind group, and it's basically we're a mastermind group. What we're doing right now is that it's a group of people of 2, 3, 40 that have come together for a common cause. And step number 1 is you don't know everything, so check your ego at the door. That's like rule number 1.
Yep.
And rule number 2 is check rule number 1. And a serious case of omerta. And real quickly about Ben Franklin, omerta means silence. You don't discuss what you're discussing in the group, outside the group. I think that's only fair. That gives a place of real honesty, and you can, we never said anything that we couldn't have, but it was just don't say anything that's been discussed in here.
Yeah.
but it's a really strong way, and it's an overused term in the business world today. Mastermind this, mastermind that. Well, it only works if everybody's
Got something to offer.
and offering and using rule one. Check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
At the door, you don't know everything. But I would encourage you to find just in life in general. You need those people in your life. I always say around here, surround yourself with people that bring you up. Surround yourself with people that make you better. And I honestly want to be the weakest link in my chain. And that's not usually that hard to do, to tell you the truth. I'm surrounded by a lot of talented people. But if you take that approach all the time and get the ego out of the way, be humble, good things usually are going to come from you if you keep showing up every day.
Be uncomfortable.
Be uncomfortable, absolutely. I know Sammy mentioned that. I'm a big believer in doing something that just scares the crap out of you every day. And I'll echo what Sammy said. I don't mean go out and start skydiving tomorrow or, tightrope walking between two sky. I'm not saying unless that's your thing. But you should definitely do something that pushes you outside your comfort zone regularly.
Yeah.
If not, you're just stagnant and you're going backwards pretty quick.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good times.
Was.
Hey, who's next round of Perrier on?
I'll take care of it. I got it. I'll run and go get a whole big case. Walk into Costco. Hey. I'll get a pallet. Yeah, let's get a
bring
pallet
out the pallet of Perrier.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this podcast. Clint,
Thank you, buddy.
It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you're interested in being on the Now You Know podcast with LTD Media, contact us. You can email us, visit us on Facebook, visit our website, and we'll get you booked. We look forward to having some more guests and doing more of these. We appreciate your support. There is a support button that you can click if you do want to donate to the podcast itself, so we can help pay for some of our guests to get here if they're coming from out of state and other challenges that come up in regards to booking people. So we thank you for listening. Subscribe. Take care.